They told her the house was haunted. Not in the cliched sense. No screaming phantoms or floating candlesticks, but something deeper, something that sank into the bones of the place. A presence, subtle and watching, as if the very walls breathed. But for Evelyn Hale, the old house on Ashwood Lane was a chance at rebirth, a new start after years of silence, loss, and a past she wished she could erase. She had no idea that the house was waiting for her. Chapter 1. A New Beginning. Evelyn stepped out of her dusty Honda Civic and stared at the two-story Victorian house. It was framed by towering ash trees whose withered limbs curled over the roof like bony fingers. The structure had an elegance buried beneath years of neglect, peeling paint, broken shutters, and ivy that strangled the porch columns like green veins. "This is it," she whispered, brushing a lock of chestnut hair behind her ear. "Home." She unlocked the rusted gate and walked up the creaking wooden steps, the scent of old wood, mold, and something faintly metallic rising into her nostrils. Her footsteps echoed in the empty halls as she explored. Faded wallpaper peeled from the walls like shedding skin, and spiderwebs clung to every corner like memories refusing to be forgotten. The air was heavy and cold, even for October. Yet, despite the gloom, Evelyn felt oddly drawn to it. She moved in that very evening. Chapter 2. The Woman in the Mirror. The first night passed uneventfully, save for a recurring dream. A woman stood in the hallway mirror. Her face was half hidden by shadow, but Evelyn could feel her eyes watching, sad, searching. She reached out to touch the glass, whispering something inaudible. When Evelyn tried to speak, she awoke. The dream returned the next night, and the next, until Evelyn began to recognize her features: pale skin, long black hair, bruises on her arms. And always those eyes, piercing, pleading. Evelyn told herself it was just stress. She'd been through enough: a failed marriage, her sister's overdose, the miscarriage. Her therapist said the past had to be faced, not fled. Evelyn had disagreed. That's why she came here, to escape. But the house wasn't letting her. Chapter 3. The Locked Door. On the third day, while sweeping the upstairs hallway, Evelyn noticed a door she hadn't seen before. It was narrow and warped, almost part of the wall. The handle was rusted, locked tight. She tried keys from the drawer. None worked. That night, she heard scratching sounds, soft but persistent, coming from behind that door, like nails on wood. Then, a whisper. "Let me out." Evelyn froze. She pressed her ear against the door. Nothing. The next morning, she laughed it off. "Sleep hallucination," she muttered. "Probably raccoons in the walls." Still, she began avoiding that hallway at night. Chapter 4. Journal in the Floorboards. It was on the fifth day, while moving a bookshelf, that she noticed a loose floorboard. Beneath it lay a small, leather-bound journal, fragile, its pages yellowed with time. The entries were written in delicate handwriting. The owner was a young woman named Clara Whitmore, who lived in the house in 1932. "I hear her again. In the night. In the walls. She calls my name, always whispering, never shouting. It's getting harder to sleep." Another entry read, "Mother says the house is sick, that it feeds on sorrow. But I know the truth now. It's not the house. It's her. The woman with no face." The final entry ended abruptly. "If I disappear, I was not mad. She is real. She lives in the mirror. She wants to be free." Evelyn stared at the journal, heart pounding. She should have thrown it away. She didn't. Chapter 5. Something in the Mirror. That night, Evelyn stood before the same hallway mirror from her dreams. She stared at her reflection, half expecting something, or someone, to appear behind her. The silence was so thick it had texture. She turned off the hallway light. Only moonlight now. Then, slowly, a shape emerged beside her reflection. A pale hand. Evelyn spun around. Nothing. But in the mirror, the woman remained, face obscured, hand pressed against the glass. "Let me in," Evelyn screamed, shattering the mirror with a nearby candlestick. The reflection was gone. but blood oozed from the broken glass, not hers. Chapter 6. The Voice in the Walls. The next day, Evelyn tried to leave. She packed her suitcase, grabbed her keys, and opened the front door. But the outside world was gone. Where the street had once been, there was now endless forest. The trees moved without wind. The sky was gray. No sounds, no birds, no wind, no life. She stepped back inside, heart racing. The house had shifted. Trapped her. That night, the whispers came louder. Evelyn. They came from the walls, the floors, the ceilings. The woman was everywhere. In the mirror shards. In the whispers. In her dreams. Evelyn finally understood. Clara wasn't the only one who had seen her. The house collected people. And the woman, she was once like Evelyn. A lost soul looking for a new start. Now, she was part of the house. And Evelyn feared she would be next. Chapter 7. The Photo in the Attic. Evelyn ascended to the attic on the 7th night, guided by instinct. Or perhaps something else. Dust choked the air. Cobwebs hung like curtains. In a box marked Whitmore, she found old photographs, faded portraits, yellowed letters. Then one image made her gasp. It was a family photo, Clara Whitmore, her parents, and a fourth figure. A woman with long black hair, standing at the edge, barely visible. Her face was smudged, as if time had tried to erase her. Evelyn flipped the photo over. In faint pencil, Margaret Whitmore. Died 1924. But she never left. The whispers surged. The mirror behind her, cracked but whole again, began to glow. And, in its surface, Margaret was waiting. Chapter 8. The Deal. Evelyn couldn't sleep. Every night, the whispers grew clearer. Margaret, if that was really her name, wasn't content with mirrors anymore. She now appeared in reflections of spoons, windows, even puddles of water in the sink. Always staring. Always silent. Always waiting. Evelyn had read Clara's journal cover to cover. Then reread it. There was something about the way Clara's words shifted. Early entries were full of wonder and romance, then slowly dipped into fear, paranoia, then resignation. Clara never left the house. That much was obvious. Neither had Margaret. And Evelyn was beginning to understand why. The house didn't haunt you. It bound you. Chapter 9. The Basement Truth. It came to Evelyn in a half-dream. The basement. That's where it began. She didn't want to go down there. But the pull was too strong. The old wooden door to the basement creaked open with a groan, revealing steep stairs that descended into darkness. Armed with only a flickering flashlight and Clara's journal clutched in her hand, Evelyn began her descent. The basement stank of mildew and something fouler, decay. Rats scattered as she moved deeper. Then she saw it. A small bricked-off section at the back wall crumbled slightly, exposing bones. Tiny ones. Human. A child. Evelyn staggered back, ball rising in her throat. Something scrawled on the wall above the grave in charcoal. She takes one to stay. One must remain. A trade. Evelyn realized it then. The house demands a soul to bind another. It was a cycle. The previous trapped soul could only be freed by offering another in her place. Margaret had once been the prisoner. Then Clara. And now, her. Unless Evelyn gave it someone else. Chapter 10. The Call. Evelyn tried calling her sister. Not because she wanted to, but because a desperate, ugly thought had crept into her mind. If I brought someone here, would the house let me go? But the line was dead. Her phone showed no signal. No Wi-Fi. No bars. She wasn't just in the house. She was inside its world now. The next morning, she found her reflection talking back. In the cracked bathroom mirror, Margaret stood beside Evelyn's reflection. You see now, she said. Her voice was soft, lilting, like a lullaby dipped in poison. This place is not cursed. It is hungry. You must feed it. Evelyn shook her head. I won't hurt anyone. Margaret tilted her head. Then stay. Forever. The mirror cracked again. And Evelyn screamed. Chapter 11. Clara's Shadow. The nights grew longer. Time became unstable. Sometimes morning never came. Sometimes the clocks spun backward. Evelyn stopped counting the days. But then, one night, Clara came. Not Margaret, Clara. She appeared at the foot of Evelyn's bed, pale, thin, trembling. "I was like you," she whispered. I didn't want to believe her. I thought I could resist. But the house changes you. Evelyn sat up. "Why are you here now?" Clara looked over her shoulder as if fearing someone was watching. "Because Margaret lied. You don't have to feed the house." "Then how do I escape?" Clara's eyes welled up. "You don't escape. But you can destroy it." Evelyn leaned forward. "Tell me how." Clara hesitated. "Burn it. Everything. The journal, the mirror, the bones. Only then will the house release you." Before Evelyn could ask more, Clara faded like mist. And Margaret's voice echoed from the mirror.
"Lies."
Clara was weak. Chapter 12. Fire and Ashes. The next day, Evelyn gathered what she needed. She retrieved Clara's journal, the broken shards of the mirror, and then, trembling, returned to the basement. She dug at the wall with a crowbar until the bones were fully exposed. She cried as she wrapped them in a sheet, not because she mourned, but because she felt watched. In the fireplace, she built the pyre. She poured gasoline over everything, books, glass, and bones. As the flames roared to life, the house groaned. The walls shook. Mirrors shattered. Whispers turned to screams. Margaret's voice pierced through the smoke. "You cannot break the cycle. You must offer another." Evelyn screamed back. "No more." The fire spread.
Paint curled. Wood snapped.
But the front door remained closed. Evelyn coughed, trying to open it.
Locked.
Choking, blinded, she fell to her knees. This was it. Chapter 13. The Choice. But just as she collapsed, the hallway mirror, untouched by fire, began to glow. Inside it stood Clara. Not ghostly, but alive. Human.
Real.
She held out her hand from the other side of the mirror.
"Come," she said.
Evelyn hesitated. "Is this a trick?" Clara shook her head. "This is the only way out. You must take my place." Evelyn understood then. To escape, she had to become the woman in the mirror. She looked back at the burning house, then at Clara. Her voice trembled. "And if I don't?" Clara's expression darkened. "Then Margaret takes you. And the house, it starts again." Evelyn made her choice. She stepped into the mirror. Epilogue. Ashes on Ashwood. The fire department found the house burned to the ground the next day. No body was ever recovered. Locals whispered that the house was cursed, that it had taken another soul. Years later, a young couple rebuilt a home on the same lot. And in the upstairs hallway, hanging innocently between two sconces, was an antique mirror. Sometimes, late at night, the woman inside it shifts. She has chestnut hair and very sad eyes. She does not scream. She simply watches
And waits.
for the next one.